and welcome to a brand new episode of Exposed. Exposed is a new youth talk show on Mohawk TV. The purpose of this show is to expose the issues that matter to Ganawaga's youth and to encourage other youth to discuss these issues. I'm one of your panelists, Jessica Deer.
I'm another panelist, Peter Deer.
I'm Taylor Goodleaf.
And I'm the new panelist, Hogan Gilbert. I'm 21. I work, and that's about it.
So last week we discussed the education rally that took place on Parliament Hill, and two of us went.
Well, for you guys who weren't there, we got to go, and it was a pretty good turnout. There was about 1,000 people there, and there wasn't any feedback really yet, I don't think, but I think we'll have to wait that out. So we're basically just talking to the building the whole time in the city of Ottawa. But
what were you like talking about?
Basically how they can't keep cutting back on our funding, and how it's unfair that Aboriginal people get funding cut off while the other Canadians.
Yeah, there's a 2% cap per year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the amount of funds that go to Aboriginal education institutions is so much less than
anyone else.
Yeah. And I think there's just a lot of really powerful speeches made at Parliament Hill that hopefully made an impact on some Parliament members.
Yeah. Even if the members weren't listening, at least like other people were, and hopefully we made a stand for ourselves, and people recognize that. So I think that's what's important.
And so I know on the show we're not just going to be, we're going to be talking about a lot of different issues, but for this week's show we kind of wanted to get a little bit political and discuss membership. I think it's something that that's not just important to adults in Ganawage, but definitely the youth as well. So I guess what is all your take on it?
Well, membership really is, it is a big topic because there's so many things going on. It's a touchy subject in general, with everything from, evicting the 35 people to Carl Horn just recently resigning from the portfolio altogether.
I thought that was pretty surprising that he decided to step down from that portfolio. And I read the art, it was on the front page of the Eastern Door on Friday, and I could understand if it was because he he thought that the portfolio was too big or too much to handle because it was his first time in office, but that wasn't the reason why. He kind of just said, from what I got from the article, was that he said and did what he wanted to do with that issue, and now it's time. That's it.
It's done.
Yeah. And I don't know. Even though I don't agree with his actions on that issue, I'm still kind of disappointed that he decided to do that.
I know, it's okay, if you're going to make that much of a stand about something and you go that to such an extreme as everybody had their own different opinions about in town, it totally segregated everyone was fighting with each other, and there's a lot of negative energy in town because of that, and then to just say well,
maybe that's the reason,
but if you're going to take a step like that, if you're going to do something like that, then you should think about how it's going to end, and if you can't think about how it's going to end, then you shouldn't do it at all.
That's true, but maybe he thought, maybe he could have fixed things a little bit, bring a little bit of unity back by separating the people, making sure people who are native are in town and the non-natives not belong in town. But the way he did it was too extreme, too fast for, I guess, his own likings, that he had to back down.
Yeah. You think about that, Hogan?
I think it went much too quickly. I think he kicking people out of their houses.
No one really got kicked out.
Oh, people did leave.
Yeah, it's funny because we talk about it on Straight Talk a lot of how these laws aren't really enforceable, and you're just really sending a letter.
Yeah.
There's not. I mean, you can't kick someone out with a letter, but
There's no real force allowed to
Yeah.
actually do something about it. Just pretty much saying, here's a letter, here you go, enjoy.
Yeah, like
read
respect it.
Yeah, respect our
Yeah.
our ways, but there's no real force to get anybody out.
Yeah, I can understand. That was respectable, I guess. Like, well, I mean, that was as respectable as you could have got. But I mean, like, what? Like the next step, you know, everyone was like, "Whoa, what's the next step? Like, what are they gonna do now? They're gonna go. What are they? Can they go? Can they remove people? Like,
It's just
physically?
kind of. It's leaving like a lot of people on edge of what they're gonna
Yeah.
do.
Well, yeah,
next.
because then you have to think like, if they kicked out non-natives, who are they gonna go for next? If they're trying to, if they're really trying to keep going with this, who's next? What's gonna happen?
And it's still kind of funny because at the summer community meeting, I'm not sure if any of you attended or read about it. They kind of hit a roadblock and they said we don't know what to do next. Like we're looking to the community to see what should we do now.
Isn't it up to the community
And that's
decision-making
pretty
process?
much
Yeah.
it now.
Let's put the time on.
And what do you think about? Would you participate in the community decision-making process with this issue?
I would, because every voice needs to be heard. I mean, it's obviously a community decision process, so every voice needs to be heard regardless of what your point is on it. And I would definitely join.
I would participate, but it's like hard to call it the community decision-making process when like only 50 people show up to the meetings, and it's like, well, who's really making the decision then?
That is true. Yeah, there's not enough community involvement to even
Mm-hmm.
to really consider it. I mean, yeah, it is called that, but the community has to get more involved into it in order to. Maybe that's why they did these. Maybe
Yeah.
there's not enough community involvement in any of these issues to really give them
Yeah, to
feedback.
actually say.
So they have to go on what they feel is the best option.
Yeah.
Only when they start moving things like into motion, that's when people start getting angry.
People-
Yeah.
More people have to go to.
Yeah, that's when people get their input in, and you get mixed emotions, and
Like,
it should be said, brought up at a community meetings, or
Yeah.
it really should be.
I know that they're not like the most, I guess the most entertaining way to spend like your evening or like Saturday afternoon, but I think more youth need to start going to things like this, or even to community meetings in general. I mean, I went to the last community meeting and to the last previous community meetings because of work, but you look around the room and like I was one of the few youth that were actually in the room, and I don't think if it wasn't because of work, I still don't think I would have went. So
I think a lot of people like refrain from going to that though because they don't know what to expect really. It's like, well, you see enough on like other things like about, I don't know, people just argue, you know what I mean? So I think they think that people are just gonna like be yelling at each other, or they're not gonna, it's not gonna be as respectful as they say it's gonna
Oh,
be.
yeah, it
yeah,
could
I
be.
think there definitely are some people that I guess they don't censor their mouth when they start their rants.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have their input, and a lot of people just are very they're very vocal. They have a lot of passion behind their arguments and everything, and I guess you gotta let them do what they gotta do. So, well, we're gonna go to commercial quickly, and we'll be right back after this.